You're listening to a Rock Candy podcast.
Coming to you from magnified cemeteries, Magnified Pod presents Magnifright Pod, a nostalgic sampling of horror punk albums from the Christian alternative scene. Join us in the pits of hell. I am Count Andrew.
I am John O'Lantern. You like that one? Just trying something out.
This is our podcast. That's our food werewolf. And this is week 3
Ooh.
of Magnifright Pod.
I never want it to end, baby.
This is fun. You know, this
fun.
is an excuse for us to drink some unique beers that we might not normally drink. Eat some spooky candies, talk spooky stories.
Indeed.
And I have been enjoying it, surprisingly. I haven't necessarily been partaking in any scary movies in this season, you know, but still.
You haven't seen any ghosts, have you?
I have not seen any ghosts.
That's good.
But, you know, it's funny. John, we were talking, I think it was last episode. We were talking last episode, or was it? No, maybe that was the first one when we were talking our first horror movie. And I was talking about Scream. And at that time, I didn't know that there was a new Scream coming out. And since we talked about that, the new trailer dropped for, is it Scream 5?
It would be, but they're just calling it Scream.
They're just calling it Scream.
Which I feel like is the cowardly way out. They should have spelled it with a 5 as the S, you know?
Yes.
5 cream.
This is gross.
5 creams.
5 cream. You know,
do you like scary creams? I don't know. Sorry. Keep going.
I don't understand when they reboot a franchise because they did this a few years ago with Halloween.
Candyman as well.
And they just did it with, and it's confusing because, like, if you're rebooting a franchise, you can make the argument for just calling it something else. Yeah. But this is a continuation. Like, right. Candyman is a full-on reboot of the original, right? Isn't it?
Or is it?
Is it? Okay.
We'll have to watch to find out what you know you want.
Yeah, that's true. But you're picking up kind of where you left off. Like, Halloween is just one big long saga with
although they
Curtis
canceled out everything except for the first movie with this new reboot. Like all the sequels they just wiped off the map for this new version. But
for Halloween? Yeah. What is that? What do you mean? They just they're just retconning everything and just
yes. It's as if it starts with the end of the first one. So they're just doing away. There's also been like kind of multiple revamps of Halloween within the many Halloween movies. But yeah, it's kind of tough to keep track of which ones wipe the slate clean and which ones continue and which ones are sequel to which ones. Anyway,
it seems that this is kind of the year of not just reboots of horror movies, but extremely self-aware horror movies, because it's like, look at all these older characters coming back, and they're the elder statesmen, and so they need to teach the younger generation about this, the things that are coming upon their town or whatever. Indeed, it's not exactly the most inspired of plots, but
I like new stuff. Let's hear some new stories.
Yes, that would be
You can
great.
always watch the old ones again.
But yeah, I don't know what more you're getting out of, and evidently there's going to be a new. This is a Halloween trilogy, so
Yes.
next
This is
year
the
there's the
second of the three,
of the
right?
three. So
Yep.
I don't know. I don't know if I will see. I definitely am not going to watch the Halloween one because Halloween Kills, I believe, is what it's called, because
Yes.
evidently it's like extremely brutal,
Yeah.
and that is one of the things that I like least about
Right.
the slasher genre.
Yeah.
Is just like I don't like just over the top aggressive brutal violence. It just is
Yeah.
not. Give me the werewolves, give me the vampires. Like I give
Yeah,
me the
man.
spooky stuff without people just being like ripped apart, like, you know, literally. I was reading one review that's like people are being like, you know, torn open with their hands, you know, with I'm
Yeah.
assuming with Michael Myers' hands or whatever.
Right.
So just like this, so it's a bit much for me.
Yeah. I just rewatched the first one, which is so good. And he was not some supernatural being. He was just like a big dude who was
Dude,
spooky.
yeah.
And now there's all this like, different mythology, and he's some sort of superhero and whatever. But
I can understand if somebody wanted to create a mythology around, you know, like No Country for Old Men.
mhm,
This idea that this character is like some sort of personification of death or something
right.
like that. And what I'm trying, and I'm blanking. I'm blank.
Anton Sugar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like one of the most, that movie was violent, but for a non-horror movie, that was like one of the most terrifying characters
Absolutely.
in cinema.
Yes.
He's so terrifying to me. And like,
What's the most you ever lost in a Quintos? Call it friendo.
the worst, the absolute worst. Just thinking about that scene makes me anxious. But yeah. Anyway, so yeah, horror movies aside,
Mm,
I'm hoping that everybody is enjoying the spooky season.
yes.
And we're doing a lot of talking already. We got to
You
get
getting
some
parched?
in parched, bro. What do you got over there?
I got a pumpkin weird beer.
Ooh, okay.
I have a pumpkin kerfuffle.
Your background, your skeleton background is obscuring the beer entirely. Okay.
I got some dancing skeletons back there, and they're getting in the way. But yes, I have a pumpkin kerfuffle. Get ready for this description. This is a Prairie Artisan Ales who I've talked about on the pod before. They're from Tulsa. This beer is an imperial sour beer with pumpkin pie spice blend and toasted marshmallow flavor.
Wow.
That's a weird beer if ever I've heard one, right?
Yeah, this is the cup. Ooh, that was quite the it was sort of a take on that the Son of Man painting with the man with the apple in front of his face.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what you were talking about at first. I was like, what is this, a Jesus thing? But yeah, it is.
Yeah. I have.
Whoa. Sorry, I'm recovering from that sip. That's a lot of things going on.
Break it down for us.
Well, there's imperial sour beer, which just on its own is a lot, right?
Right.
And then with pumpkin pie spice and
Right.
toasted marshmallow flavor. So like all those things at once. Imagine that.
What percentage did you say it was?
It's got to be 8.2, which is high for
still pretty high.
Sour. It's good. I mean, there's a lot going on, but I'm into it. I like it.
I have almost the absolute opposite of that. I have a Bald Man Brewing, a Minnesota beer. I'm pretty sure I've been drinking so far. I've exclusively had Minnesota beers.
Keep it local.
This is the Rocktoberfest.
Ooh.
Marzen Lager. This is a leftover from our bro dabbler that we did the previous weekend.
I did FaceTime in a bit for some brief dabbling.
I was already very drunk at that point.
There had been a lot of dabbling. It was clear already.
we did more than dabble. Yeah, I don't remember. Oh my God. Now I'm remembering some of the conversation. about
we'll
we'll
talk about it off mic.
we'll just say we were discussing what is and isn't vegan, and I just remembered that.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yep.
that is not for the pod. But yeah, this is a God, these beers are always filled to the top. Yeah, this is a Marzen lager. So the description is this clean, refreshing lager features all German barley and noble hops to create a bright and crisp beer. And we did your friend and mine, friend of the pod, Mark Atkinson. We did a blind taste test of 4 different Oktoberfest beers. And this was my number 2, but it's still very good beer. Very crisp and bright are the appropriate words I would use to describe it.
That sounds great. What was your number 1?
It was one by Omni.
Okay.
You ever had anything by Omni?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, they make good stuff, and out of their suburban brewery. So a little bit of a trek to get there, but still Omni's very good.
Candy wise, what you got going on today? What are we gonna go with?
Well,
where's your pumpkin friend?
My pumpkin friend is right here.
There
got my pumpkin, my orange pumpkin with the candy. We got 2 candies left, John.
Okay.
And I really want to. Part of me wants to save one of these for the last week.
Okay.
Because it's the most wild of the 3.
Okay.
I mean, of the 2 that I have remaining. But you know what? We're talking an interesting band today. They deserve a very interesting candy. This is the Warheads Sour Body Parts gummy candy.
Sounds great.
So it's got the Warheads guy on the front puckering, who looks like a Frankenstein's monster.
Frankenstein, yes.
Yeah, he's got the little bolts in his neck. The sour body parts look like they include blue and white teeth, red and white bone, and pink and green brain. And those are cherry, blue raspberry, and green apple, respectively.
Sounds great.
Yeah. So
we got to hear about them.
Yeah. So are you gonna share your quote unquote candy?
I told Andrew I have the scariest candy of them all. Black licorice.
Gross.
So delightful and tasty.
Trash candy.
Not necessarily Halloween, but I do love black licorice year round. And it's black. That's spooky. People hate it, so it's kind of scary.
Yeah, if I got black licorice in my Halloween candy, right to the trash.
Come on, man.
All right.
Good and plenty. That sounds wonderful.
Good and plenty is trash.
You mean tasty? Is what you meant to say?
No. Mike and Ike. Did you know? So dots are those very chewy sort of I don't know what you would classify.
It's like gumdroppy thing.
They're like a gumdrop, and classic movie theater candy dots. And they used to have black licorice dots in there, but they removed them entirely.
Too delicious.
And
the public couldn't handle how delicious they
were.
Then
they made them its own thing called crows.
Oh, right.
So it's like all crows are just like the black licorice dots.
Hell yeah.
Because it's just like, because people are like, ugh, I'm in the movie theater in the dark, grab for one. It's like, oh, this is trash.
Black licorice. Yum. More for me. I'm a monster.
So here's a brain.
Brains. Yeah. That looks pretty good. Pretty brainy.
Yeah, because these have that powdery, crunchy, sugary part on the outside that I enjoy.
Right.
Ooh. Yes, look at these teeth, bro.
Ooh,
These
those
look
are
good.
That's good detail on these
That is
little
good detail on these teeth.
brains and teeth. Ooh. You
Trying
have
to
the teeth
wear 'em.
on like a little grill.
They are delicious.
There's a bone.
They are nowhere near as sour as like a regular Warhead.
Sure.
Still a delightfully fun candy. I'm very
Okay.
pleased with these. I like the level of sour.
Yeah. I'm gonna
I'm just
choose
impressed with
something
the
good.
shapes too.
Yeah, I'm into that. I gotta choose a good one for our final entry.
It's very fun.
What's your favorite flavor?
I don't know, man. Let me get back to you.
Okay. All right.
Just keep eating these.
Yeah.
Oh,
Let them wash over your palate. Meanwhile, my review: Trader Joe's soft black licorice Swiss, delightful as always.
trash.
Send your unwanted black licorice to Magnified Studios, and I will eat them.
Got lots of brains and teeth in here. Where are those bones at, bro?
Mm.
The bone.
Give me them bones.
Give me them bones.
I'm happy with this. What a freak I am. I'm drinking Imperial Sour pumpkin beer and eating black licorice candy, and I'm enjoying it.
That red and white bone, bro. That might be my
All right.
my favorite. The blue raspberry. Very good.
Love a bone.
Love a bone. Couple bone
Well,
bros.
we've got just a couple of bone bros. dem bones, dem bone bros. We've talked some of our favorite scary things. We've talked some of our first horror movies.
Mm-hmm.
This time we're gonna stroll down that spooky memory lane. Talk about maybe some of our favorite trick-or-treating times, some of our favorite Halloween memories.
Yep.
What comes to mind for little Andrew filling up his pumpkin?
So there's one of my earliest Halloween memories comes in the form of a picture of me and my brother Brian in our first house in Salina, Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
So this probably would have been, if I had to ballpark it, would have been probably 1989. It's my guess.
Taylor Swift year.
Yes. That's what we called it back then. Like, guys, you don't know it yet, but this is a very important year for pop music. And there's a picture of me and Brian on our front doorstep. I'm dressed as a mouse, inexplicably. Sure. I don't know why. I'm very cute. Brian
still are.
Oh shit, bro. Brian, this just tells you very much the decade that we're in, but Brian is fully dressed in Hawaiian t-shirt and elf mask.
That's the best. We might have to post this if you can find it.
We'll find. It's definitely digitized somewhere on. Okay. It's on Facebook somewhere, but so there's that, and I do remember also in Salina, I remember going as, this was in the early years of Family Matters. So I wanted to dress up as a nerd because I wanted to be Steve Urkel.
Mm-hmm.
So I went as a nerd one year. Suspenders, giant glasses.
Yeah.
Cheese. Goofy hat. I don't know if I carried around any cheese.
Got any cheese?
Got any cheese?
That's what you would ask when you trick-or-treated.
Yeah, I would, knock over people's candy and I'd be like, did I do that?
Classic.
Yep. And there's this tweet that's been going around again as tweets, perennial favorites of the year that come up. The tweet that says trick-or-treating in the Midwest always sucked because I could never go as Spider-Man. I had to go Spider-Man wearing a fucking jacket.
Right. Yeah. Coat over all your
coat over your entire costume because it's cold and you want to go out trick-or-treating, but you can't wear your costume for too long because you'll get too cold. And I remember one year in Kansas that there was a just straight up blizzard, just so much snow.
Yeah.
And we had somehow convinced our saint parents to still let us go out, and presumably they came with us, and um and there's like nobody out, but from what my dad retells is that people were just like offloading so much candy because nobody was
Yeah.
coming out, so they're just like, just take the candy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I seem to remember too hearing people in Minnesota talk about similar Halloween experiences. Did you have a similar story
Yes.
like that?
That was going to be the one that I brought up as one of my most memorable trick-or-treating experiences. The Halloween blizzard of 1991. Twin Cities, just feet of snow. And I remember just sort of like walking along with my bag down the sidewalk and just sort of like falling over into a giant pile of snow intentionally, and just being like, this is wild that I can just sort of fall over and there's a giant pile of snow right there. Yes, I remember my dad going with us. It was a good time. We were all having fun. Perhaps the parents weren't, but it seemed very weird at the time. But then 2 years ago, here at least, it snowed on Halloween. It was all icy, and we took the kids out, and I think we saw one other trick-or-treating group, maybe two. And yeah, similarly, most houses are like, you're the only ones who we've actually seen, and they gave us a ton of candy. So that was its own experience. But then last year was also pretty fun. Nice weather that time. And we weren't sure what trick-or-treating was going to look like in that
Right.
COVID Halloween year, but
Right.
it ended up being super fun because people came up with all these creative ways to give out candy. We had one neighbor who set up like a little toy train that went out on tracks to people from their garage and like dropped off candy and then went back. We had people who had like, those big like chutes, metal chutes where they'd send them out. And I don't know, we ended up like meeting more neighbors that year than we normally do in a regular trick-or-treating. So this year, my kids are making us all be Star Wars characters.
Yes.
And
Making
you have
they're letting you,
allowing us, but it is by demand. You have a Chewie hoodie, don't you? Chewbacca hoodie.
I don't have a Chewbacca hoodie. I have a Chewbacca bathrobe.
Okay, that's what it is.
It's a full-on Chewie bathrobe.
I'm getting
it's so warm.
I'm getting a onesie, a Chewie onesie in the mail.
Yes.
So I'll have to post some pics of that.
Hell yeah.
Jenny's gonna be Leia. Elliot is Luke.
Sorry.
Just celebrated her anniversary.
I know. I'm a monster.
She's the general of the
Rebels. It's appropriate. It's appropriate for the season because I'm actually a monster.
So Elliot's gonna be Luke. Milo was going to be R2D2, but then last minute changed it to Darth Vader. So they're both gonna have lightsabers, and of course, our dog is gonna be Grogu. So it's gonna be a good time.
Yes.
But yeah, growing up, I mean, one of my other like distinct trick-or-treating memories is getting home in time to watch The Simpsons Treehouse of Horror when it would air on Halloween. I just remember that being like such a staple.
Yes.
And those early, like, I don't know, whatever, 10 years of the Halloween episodes are like so good and burned in my memory forever. But coming home and dumping out your pumpkin, eating candy while watching Simpsons Halloween, I mean, that's
the dream, man.
I'm just trying to get back to that point in my life.
I'm really excited for this being my first. I mean, this is technically my second Halloween in this house, but
Last year was weird.
Last year was weird. They were just sort of. I feel like there weren't a ton of trick-or-treaters. I don't even remember if I was even home.
Sure.
On Halloween, but I am actively going to be participating this year.
Cool.
I don't have any decorations or anything, but I will be sitting out on my porch. I'm going to try and participate at the very least in the ways that I've seen other people in St. Paul do it. That there was one year I was trick-or-treating with Mark and his kids in his neighborhood in St. Paul, and there were people just like out with their kids, and they were just like, the adults were drinking, and there's this
Yes.
guy pouring individual like little shot glasses of whiskey for the adults, and I'm just like, this is
It's
the
wonderful.
greatest thing in the world.
It's the best.
So that's exactly what I'm going to be doing.
Yeah,
I'm
man.
going to be passing out candy, and then to adults I'll be like, do you want some a little whiskey?
That rules.
I'm definitely going to be doing that and getting not getting high end stuff or anything, but
You're gonna be blasting Grave Robber for all the kids.
Exactly. I'll be like, you're all gonna die.
Do you want some whiskey? That's the great thing about Halloween is it's fun when you're a little kid. It's fun in your 20s when you're partying. I remember like going to like block parties when I lived in DC, and that was just like, yeah, we would just drink. Everybody had like beers out for all the neighbors, and playing Ghostbusters theme song over and over and fun stuff like that. And now you bring your kids and take your kids out. I also remember, I think I've talked about this a little bit before, but what may have instilled some of my love of spooky things is my parents taking me out for haunted hay rides when I was little. And they were just like, I remember these very elaborate Trails of Terror was one of them. Yeah, the kind of thing where they come out at you with chainsaws or ghosts or whatever while you're in a spooky hayride. And oh man, I just remember the time of year and the way that the air felt, crispiness of the leaves and the smell and the spookiness. It's all so good. It's imprinted on me deeply. Yeah. So many fun times growing up. Hopefully some fun times coming this year as well. And I don't know, I'm trying to think of like other. I remember I won a Halloween costume contest when I was 5, and I dressed like a dinosaur.
Nice.
It was apparently pretty cute.
Was it a homemade dinosaur, or what was it about? That was,
I don't know. I think it was store bought, but maybe I was just like at an especially cute age. Yeah, nobody else had the dinosaur thing. And that was the other thing. It was at some like local community center, and I know we bobbed for apples, which is like, that wouldn't happen today. That seems like a giant nightmare. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Even stuff like, I remember trick-or-treating and like going into neighbors' basements where they'd set up like DIY haunted houses, and I'm like, I feel like that wouldn't happen today either, right? Like they'd just be like, come on in, kids, come downstairs, and we're like, okay.
Well, I mean, churches have hell houses.
That's true.
But that's safe because it's a church, even though it's traumatizing.
Yeah. Anyway, I support neighbors having haunted houses in their basements. That sounds fun.
Yeah, I definitely couldn't. I'm definitely not at an age where I could pull that off. Like, yeah, just come into the single guy's
porch.
Come into that single guy's house in the basement. No big deal. It'll be fine, probably.
He's giving out whiskey.
He's the guy who's getting everybody liquored up.
Hey, you want to see my basement, or got some guitars down there?
So, I'm not sure how many listeners are familiar with the Instagram page Christian Nightmares. There was one that was posted today, as they do this with like a lot of holidays leading up to the holiday, especially Christmas. But their post is, Halloween is just 17 days away, and there's someone out in front of someone's house, written on a shoddily made cross out of cardboard. It says, "No candy, but there's plenty of Jesus here. Knock if you need to receive salvation. God bless."
Yikes. Not a lot of knocks that night.
Skipping that house and egging it, or come on. Like, who other than somebody who's already saved or is already a Christian is going to be like, oh, because those people operate under the same thing that the same idea that like characters in Jack Chick tracks operate under. These people like in his tracks have like never heard of Christianity,
right,
never heard of Jesus, and it's like, oh, you mean the most popular religion in the country? He's like, Jesus? No. I'm like, what is this you're talking about? The salvation you're talking about? Like, you're and then if they get egged, they're gonna persecution complex,
right? Yeah, it's just society.
You're allowed to have fun. It's okay to give candy to cute kids in dinosaur costumes. It's
No.
fine.
Not if it's to worship the Dark Lord.
Yes, as we all do.
As we all do. Speaking of worshiping the Dark Lord, I don't know. I don't have a good transition. Do we have any?
That's a great transition.
Do we have any voicemails from our legions of worshipers?
We do. Are you calling us the devil?
Yeah, Magpod for death.
Cool. All right. Yeah, we've got a variety of voicemails. We've got voicemail line 872-762-4763, 8727-MAGPOD. We got something from Danny Stairs. He sent us a number of voicemails related to Halloween and other spooky content.
Hey, what's up, guys? Your boy Danny Scares here. Calling in
Nice.
just to check in with you on this whole spooky stuff growing up, where you're at. I think I'm much more in Andrew's vein. I wasn't allowed to watch scary stuff, so every once in a while I would, like with my cousin or whatever, who was allowed to watch more at my mom's, where the reins were a little more loose, and it would scare the shit out of me every time. But I would do it because I thought I had to be cool. And I was just a little kid, and I thought, you have to do what other people are doing, or other people say it's cool to be cool. And someday I'll learn that that's not true. Maybe. Anyhow, I had similar experiences, like Are You Afraid of the Dark? So at my mom's house we had cable when I was a kid, but at my dad's we didn't get it until I was older. But on Friday nights then, I would watch, Snick at her house every so often. Not all the time. Sometimes we would watch something else, but one time I fell asleep to an episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark, and I had the worst nightmares about it. I don't remember anything about the episode itself. I just remember that I had just a horrible night.
It was a horrible
night. Other than that, I can't remember any other specifics.
Is Danny gonna say that he woke up from that dream and realized that the horrible night was that he had fallen away from God?
I think so.
And then as an adult, I really don't like most scary stuff. Like, I did just watch Midnight Mass, which is,
Yes.
I didn't find it, like, scary, not like, when he said, like, not like to jump out and scare you, surprise stuff. That doesn't appeal to me, but, like, the spooky story with all that, like, that stuff I'm cool with. Just, like, I don't like I think Andrew said, like, the slasher, that kind of stuff. So, but, I started reading Stephen King as an adult. I've gotten really into a lot of his stuff. Really enjoy that. But I think I prefer, for most scary stuff, I would probably prefer to read it than to see it on the screen. I think I prefer to read most things anyhow. So, anyhow, I just wanted to check in with you guys, tell you you're doing a great job, and I'm looking forward to the rest of this episode. Back on for life. Toodaloo, motherfuckers.
Thanks for all those smooches, Danny.
Really felt that last one.
Yeah, we got both people, sides of the coin, for people that are really into all the spooky stuff, and then other people like me and Danny, and to an extent, I guess, maybe Brian Canberra, the Rudy Librarian, who's also a little bit more shying away from some of that stuff, at least, more so when he's younger too. But anyway, we got another voicemail from Danny with a Halloween story.
What's up, my dudes? Your boy Danny Scares coming in again. I forgot to mention, I knew there was something else I wanted to touch on in my last message. I tried to combine topics for once. It's not my favorite thing to do, but anyhow, talk Halloween. So growing up, again, not really allowed to partake in that. When I would be at my dad's house, sometimes at my mom's house, she would do it, I think, most years, but the only time I really remember going out was one year I dressed as Sergeant Slaughter. That's the only time I really can remember Halloween, like, going out until I was, like, fairly older, and even then I don't think I went out much. But the story I wanted to tell was about the alternative Halloween festivities we would get into. And I'm going to see if I can find a picture or pictures from this event, and I'm going to send them to you guys. But when I don't know how old I would have been. I was a young child, maybe 5 years old or so, 5, 6 years old. We weren't participating in Halloween. I was with my dad and stepmom, and I don't know whose brilliant idea this was, but we decided we would have they did, with my dad's siblings' kids, so all my cousins on my dad's side. We were going to have a dress as I don't know if it's necessarily favorite, but dress as a Bible character event. And so we did all the same kind of Halloween stuff, bobbing for apples, all those kinds of things. We got a bunch of candy, but we dressed as we dressed as Bible characters. So like I had a cousin who dressed as Samson, so he got to be someone cool. And all the other people, but for whatever reason, me and my sister dressed as Mary and Joseph with our little baby doll Jesus.
Whoa.
So I think that may be one of the scariest Halloween stories, but I'll let you guys decide. Toodaloo, motherfuckers.
I hope when you walked around with your cousin, you went, me and Samson. I would have been Satan, right?
Oh, no longer friends.
That would have been the move. Dressed as like a demon. You'd be like, it's from the Bible. We're looking at some pictures here.
Here we go.
There's young Danny. It's Joseph.
Oh my gosh.
It's beautiful.
His youngest son is the spitting image.
They look very similar.
Oh my gosh. That is unbelievable.
That's Samson, I think. Yeah, he's flexing his muscles.
Flexing, cheesing with a big smile, long hair. That is outstanding.
Yeah.
These are about as late 80s as you can get.
Man, even as a kid, I would have been like a Bible character. Like that sucks.
Yeah, like so what I can't remember it went the timeline of this. Was Sergeant Slaughter after this? Because that's definitely a step up from going as Joseph to like a wrestling character.
Right. I'm assuming it was later. He said he was only like 5 here. So Sergeant Slaughter seems like a later evolution.
That's true.
That's pretty good. Do you remember those? Do you remember the costumes in the 80s and 90s where it was like the mask and then like a smock with the character on it? Where it's like, how is that how the character dresses? Like a little picture of themselves to be like, see, I'm Alf. At least your brother had a Hawaiian shirt. It's pretty good.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, we're gonna have to I'll ask Brian if that's okay. I mean, his face is obscured, so I mean, it could be anybody. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what. Yeah, I don't know why I didn't go as a cat.
Oh, that would have been good.
That would have been a better costume.
Been eating you all night.
Yeah, he's like, he just could have been chasing me. It could have been a good bit.
Yeah,
but blew
Sounds
it.
Fun.
We got Robert Schneider.
Hi, this is Robert Schneider from Jacksonville. I figured I'd join the cool club of people leaving voicemails while driving.
Yeah.
I just wanted to call and say thank you guys really for the last bit of the season with Craig's brother. They weren't really on my radar for a while, and it was really a delight rediscovering them. They'll definitely be more in my rotation now. So it was great listening to it. I loved listening to all the albums, including Lost at Sea. But thanks again. I really look forward to hearing their new album when it comes out. Can't wait to hear you guys talk about it. And that's about it.
Thanks, Robert.
Thanks, Robert.
Yeah, I'm also very much looking forward to that new Craig's brother, even though Ted Bond says that we're going to hate it because it's just nothing but reverb and tremolo.
Hey, new Craig's brother single coming very soon.
Yes. Yeah. At the end of this month, I believe.
Yep. October 28th. Keep your eyes peeled.
Yes.
Magpod Nation.
I am super ready for that. And you're right. It was a delight discovering them, rediscovering them, and hearing some of these albums like The Insidious Lie, which I had not listened to before. And I am super pumped about being able to see some of those songs live now.
Absolutely.
We got Brock.
What's up, Mag Pod? This is Brock in Salem, Oregon. I'm late to the party on this one, but super into all of your coverage of Five Iron Frenzy.
Ooh, yeah.
Super into Five Iron Frenzy, actually, and been digging up, you might say, re-exhumating all of my old records and kind of finishing and building my vinyl collection. I think I've got just about everything they released on vinyl. I wish I could have been a Kickstarter backer so I could have got the Pavement Stars EP thing, but apparently no one has gotten those yet because vinyl takes forever to produce in this new world. But wanted to let you guys know there was one thing I didn't hear you mention that I thought was fantastic about this record, and it's how it starts. The very first track starts with what you might call a blue mix. Everything's just a little bit quiet. And the first time I listened to the first track on Until This Shakes Apart, I remember listening to it. I was like, oh, that's kind of quiet, and turning it up. And then when the drums come in and the full song enters, like it's just a little bit louder. I thought that was a genius move. So thank you, Jeremy, for that. And definitely, I don't know if anybody else was involved in that decision, but so good, so great. It's one of the signature things on the record. I love what they did with this record. I'm a big fan of Angry Yelly Reese and kind of how they balance this all out. So thanks so much for your coverage of that. And hey, MagPod for life.
Yeah.
Thanks, Brock.
Thanks, Brock. Thank you for reminding everybody that they should go back and check out some of those old Five Iron episodes if they haven't. And you know, I do want to shout out obviously Jeremy and his work on Until the Shakes Apart, but we need to emphasize how much Scott
did. Our boy.
And so that decision that you're talking about, Brock, that at the beginning, that was probably, I can almost unequivocally say that was a Scott decision. Right.
Jeremy mainly just on vocal production this go around.
Yeah.
Yes, agree with all that. Wonderful record. Brock also coming in. Yes. Coming in for the EP.
Yeah.
Brock coming in for the first time, but with some deep cuts there. I like it. That's what we like to see.
Yes. Gotta love those those deep cut jokes and when every once in a while when someone reminds me of a joke or a bit that we did, I'm like, oh yeah, hell yeah.
Oh yeah.
We're hilarious.
We're pretty good.
We got our girl, Dr. Chad.
It's been a while.
Hey guys, this is Dr. Chad. I am leaving this message from my car, but my car is not a giant piece of shit, so you can actually probably hear me. So that's good. I wanted to talk about the Scandinavian swimmers versus Sour Patch controversy. And the reason I like the Scandinavian swimmers more is because they're just more sour than the Sour Patch Kids, and they're softer. Like,
see,
I don't know if maybe the Sour Patch Kids just are more stale or something, or if they're just made to be tougher, but I feel like the Scandinavian swimmers, which also sounds like semen, let's be honest, they really should have. The Scandinavian swimmers are just a lot chewier, I guess, so that's why I like them. But I think we should definitely do just like a sour candy bracket only. Because chocolate is good and everything, but mixing chocolate with gummies and sours, it's too complicated.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, that's all I have to say. Thanks, guys.
We know what you meant.
Yeah, we'll count it. We'll count it. Yeah. Okay, so
thanks,
here
Jen.
we love you, Dr. Chad / Jen. So that's one of the reasons I like Sour Patch Kids. I like them firmer. You know, these Warheads gummies are very good, but they are of that softer gummy consistency. Yeah. And I love that, the rigidity of a Sour Patch Kid. And them being less sour than the Scandinavian swimmers. I don't know. We might have to we need to go out and we need to buy these and do a back to back because
I don't know if
this sounds like fake news.
Yeah, that's not my
my recollection
memory of it. Although I might just like the taste of Sour Patch Kids better. I think I may have brought this up on the pod before, but I worked in a movie theater all through high school, and like I sort of acquired a taste for slightly stale candy because we'd have like Sour Patch Kids or My Beloved Good and Plenty, which you were disparaging. That might sit on the shelf for a while, but like
shitty, more like it.
Boo. Bad and Plenty. That's what you should have said.
Yeah, that's a better joke.
But I like the firmness of the Sour Patch Kids, and if I get a Good and Plenty today and it's too soft, I'm like, nope, gotta let that sit for about a month, and then maybe it'll be better. Yeah, I don't know. We got to get moving on this bracket. We'll do some work here. Also, Scandinavian swimmers, is that what you call your boys?
Well, we will. I do want to get to my Scandinavian swimmers here in a moment.
Okay.
But we have another voicemail from Brock.
Ooh.
Hey there, this is Brock in Salem, Oregon. Just wanted to let you know I was listening to your Go to Hook episode about Banana Man, and man, that was a beautiful album when I was in high school as well. I got it for $5 from the Tooth and Nail vinyl closeout sale, and I think it might be worth more than that now.
Whoa. Really? Oh, disaster that I did not know that was a thing.
More than $5, yes.
Oh, gosh, yes. It's impossible to get a hold of.
About the box, my guess, and I'm not sure, I haven't finished the episode, but I wanted to call and offer my 2 cents, so maybe you've talked about this already, but I was curious if the box is called so because when you play it on the guitar, those 4 notes are basically in a square shape or in a rectangle shape. Yep. That's my suspicion when I was trying to play it in high school. I think I discovered that. And I don't know if you've heard anything that would confirm or deny that, but I think that may be why it's called the box. So who knows? Magpod for life.
We do know Joel Bell himself confirmed this when we interviewed him. That is specifically why it's called the box, and they
had to fill up that album.
They was included specifically because the album was too short, and so they just kept adding more versions of the box to make the album longer.
The right call. I don't know. Brock's blown through 5-iron. He's now on the Goaty Hook. I assume, by the time of this, he's heard the Joel episode. Maybe he's already caught up. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. This was, I think this was yesterday. So,
all right. Well, hang on for that Joel episode. You'll get that answer and more.
Yes, exactly. All right. Now we got our boy, Caleb.
Hey guys, it's Caleb. I'm just on my way to school on a beautiful rainy day and thought I would call with a couple spooky movie experiences that I had.
Ooh,
I was inspired listening to Brian's voicemail on that last step. So I've never been a scary movie guy, not my thing, absolutely not. But it seems like every time I try to watch one, it's some kind of weird experience. So, for example, when I was, maybe like 12 or so, I watched The Sixth Sense with my cousins. And with my cousins is maybe not the right thing to say because we were at their house and it was this tiny tube TV in the other corner of the room. We started the movie at like 11 and they both fell asleep immediately. So I'm this little kid who's never watched a scary movie before in my life hardly, and I'm watching The Sixth Sense essentially by myself in this dark house that is not my own. And I have memories of it being a great movie, but it also scared the crap out of me. Also, when I was in high school, I remember watching Jaws, which, classic, thought of as a scary movie. And I watched Jaws with this girl who laughed like a maniac at every part that was bloody or supposed to be scary. And so, it was like the experience of watching a comedy movie with somebody. And it was still fun, and I enjoyed it, but really took a lot of the scare out of it. I also remember watching Donnie Darko in a room with, seriously 35 to 40 of my friends my senior year of high school. So it's just odd to me. I had never been a scary movie fan, never seen one in the theater, don't ever feel the need, but every time I've seen one, it's been like this kind of weird or fun experience. and I've always had positive memories after the fact. So I think that just proves that I'm a big scaredy cat, and there's nothing wrong with that. So This month has been really fun. Keep up the beautiful work. MagPod for life. Or
Thanks, buddy. Yeah, there we go. I like it.
Caleb.
All three movies I've had very memorable theatrical experiences with. I saw The Sixth Sense. It must have been the weekend it came out. I was 16.
Were you at the working at the movie theater at that time?
I was, but it wasn't playing at my theater because it was, Riverview's second run movies. So I had to see this thing, but this was before anybody knew about the twist. So I had no idea going in that there even was a twist. And I loved that movie and still do. Jaws, one of my favorites. Great movie to watch with the crowd, as long as there's not somebody laughing at every death, I guess. Saw that at the drive-in in one of my COVID drive-in experiences. Great time. And Donnie Darko I saw in the movie theater too when it came out. And I remember not many people knowing about it. The theater was not very full, but I was just like, that movie was wild. And then it sort of became kind of a cult hit later. But anyway, all good choices, all fun to see with the crowd.
Seeing Donnie Darko in the theater, what drove you to see that in the theater? Because it's such, even seeing the movie, it's kind of hard to explain.
Right.
What was it about hearing about that movie that compelled you to go see it? Because I've seen it once and I'm like, I don't really know.
Just Frank the Rabbit, man. That rabbit costume. I had to see what was going on.
Okay.
No, I don't know. It's not really a horror movie. It's kind
Sparkle Motion.
It might have been Sparkle Motion. It's kind of a sci-fi comedy, sort of dark comedy. I don't know. It just seemed like my vibe, and I think I was correct about that. I was 18 and a budding cinephile, and looked like my shit, and I think I was correct about that. But yeah, it is a complicated time travel, space-time continuum, wormhole type plot to that movie. So anyway,
got them Gyllenhaals.
Andrew Barrymore, talking about crushes before.
Ooh, yeah. I have never to this day seen The Sixth Sense.
I think we've talked about this, and I do have it on DVD, and you can borrow it, but it's really you really need to rectify that.
Yeah, one of the reasons I have never seen it was because the ending was spoiled for me almost immediately.
Sure.
Do you remember who spoiled it for me? Because I probably have talked about this on the
I think you have. Yes, I don't remember.
It was Andy Richter.
Right.
On Conan.
Right. Yes,
he
have said this.
Spoiled it on the show.
Yeah, that's not cool.
What the hell, man?
Not cool, bro.
Not cool,
Not
Zeus.
cool. Yeah, it's still a good movie, even if you know the twist. It's just a satisfying story. And still scary. Yeah, I don't know. You gotta watch it.
I will. I need to get on it. It's been way too long. What was it? 99, 98?
99, yeah.
99? Yeah. All right. We'll get Haley Joel Osment on the pod. Maybe
Sounds good.
Maybe he's a fan of spooky things.
Might be.
All right. One last voicemail we got. Rounding it out. Danny Stairs.
Hello, my boo. This is your boy, Danny Stairs, calling from beyond the veil. Anyhow, dudes, just got to the end of this app. It took me a little longer than normal. I apologize.
It's a long one.
But I wanted to say, first off, thank you for hitting the 3-hour mark. I wanted a good long back session. And I want to talk a little bit about the album. Musically, I got my qualms with it. It was well executed. It was just all over the place. I understand what they were doing. It's just not my thing. There were songs that I thought sounded great, and songs that probably sounded good if you like that kind of music. It was just all over the place for me. So already musically, kind of it was already off the table. But then the messages throughout, oof. They really lost me there. I definitely think that Werewolf one was anti-LGBTQ stuff, and fuck them. I'm not willing to give them the benefit of the doubt solely because of the content of the rest of their stuff. I'm not going to read it in a vacuum. I'm going to read it in the context it's presented, and I don't think in the context it's presented I can give them a pass on that. And then using sluts and whores, just to use those words at all in a supposedly Christian song,
right?
Just makes me sick. So it's going to be a no all around from me. Who'd have thought that Dead Lives would be my preferred over these guys who clearly were much more musically talented. But anyhow, that's all. I just want to let you guys know where I was in this one. So I can't wait to hear next week's up. Mad Top for Death.
Yes.
Danny coming in with some hot takes and some
this season. He's really coming in.
Accurate takes. We might need to do a little bit of a full court press to get Autobot.
The streets are talking.
The streets are talking.
Otto might be, he's been bandied about. It's a possible guest. Otto, come on the show.
Yeah, we would love to have him. Because there was something that you had told me about the band from last year. About, I guess, some money that they were donating towards either Black Lives Matter causes or something. Well, can you
it was in the middle of all the uprising stuff last summer. They opened up a shop just to sell merch, and all the proceeds went to Black Lives Matter. And Otto wrote the posts about that himself and talked about his focus on justice issues. And reading some of that stuff, Danny's talking about Blaster the Rocket Man, by the way, in case anybody was confused about who he's talking about.
Yes.
But this is a thing we talk about a lot on the pod. We review albums that are 20 years old by people who were in their late teens and early 20s often, and their takes are frozen in time forever. And not always, but often people evolve and may look back on some of that with different attitudes today. And who knows where the folks in the band are now. There were some things we called out. We weren't totally sure if that's what was being said or not, but some things we sort of wrestled with there. But there does seem to be certainly an awareness of sort of justice issues and raising some concerns about things on their Facebook page. So
I would love to be able to give them an opportunity to, because like you said, we are looking back on these frozen in time albums, and we don't want to. We have really tried to make it clear that we're speaking about the lyrics as they were written in that time, and not necessarily assuming that they think the same things.
Right.
Because we don't know, and we haven't talked to them, and and I would love for that song not to be an anti-LGBT song. Because it's an awesome song, but it would be a bummer. But if it is, and they're like, oof, yeah, that was our thought, but that's wish I could have done something different. I would love to hear that, but
get him on the pod.
Get him on the pod.
I was going to say there are equal rights for werewolves bumper stickers available out there in the world too. I found out. So
yes.
Email.
You want to?
Sure.
We got our boy Jared, who
he said no need to try my last name. Jared is fine. I tried and butchered it before, so we'll just.
I think we were both trying, and we just said his last name like 8 times. We're like, so yeah, we'll just leave it with Jared.
Yeah, Jared says, I can confirm that the Deadlines were much better experienced than listened to. I seem to remember them not playing very well, but it didn't really matter because they brought the spectacle and the crowd loved it. Cornerstone 98 or maybe 99 involved fire, blood, knives, etc. Way fun. That sounds awesome.
Yes.
My impression is that they were in it for the ministry more than the horror. The theatrics were just a means to the end of spreading their message. They're the same as Carmen, One Bad Pig, The Left Behind books, and Pure Flicks, creating media of particular styles just to reach a particular audience with a particular message, not because they love the art or are part of a particular scene. Bummer? Yes, but how could it not be when starting from that premise? Yeah, that tracks.
That very much tracks.
You mentioned wanting to see more live shows like the Deadlines in the Christian scene, and that reminded me of a band called SS Bounty Hunter. Their live show centered on a guy whose main purpose was to intimidate the audience by pointing at people, swinging nunchucks, and cutting things with a sword. There was also another guy who would come out with a gun and a walkie-talkie, pretend to get a message, then whisper in the first guy's ear. Then they would both point to someone in the crowd. Then later they grabbed what must have been a plant from the audience and taped the guy to a chair, Reservoir Dog style, cut him up, fake blood and all, and dragged him off stage. Then at the apex of the show, they dragged a body-shaped mass warped in garbage bags out on stage and chucked it into the crowd. Wrapped in garbage bags, and chucked it into the crowd. All this while the band played surf rock. Pretty entertaining.
That is not the kind of music I would have assumed.
No, I can't believe that this existed in the Christian world. I feel like I saw somebody else mention SS Bounty Hunter like on the Blaster page, so that they're Jay. So we got to look them up. This sounds fascinating. I need to learn more. Jared closes by saying, also, as much as you've talked about compilations being your entry point to several of the bands, maybe you should do a season of compilation albums. Cheapskates, Artcore, I'm Your Biggest Fan, Pop Goes Punk, and of course Penalty Box. Yeah, that's a good idea. We've talked about covering some of those on the Patreon. We've done sort of compilation albums there before, but I like that idea.
Yeah, those
kick some things around.
Yeah, the songs from the Penalty Box and Cheapskates, those were some pretty seminal albums or comps for me back in the day.
Yeah.
This
SS Bounty Hunter.
SS Bounty Hunter. That sounds wild. We need to see if we can find some videos of that. Yeah. But also, if you're a band like the Deadlines and somebody's like, they're the Pure Flicks of Christian horror, you're just like,
yeah,
woof.
That's tough.
That's a tough look for our dudes in the Deadlines.
Yeah.
Thanks everybody for your emails, your voicemails. We appreciate it. John, I wanted to just talk briefly about something that I experienced today. And, this is something that we've talked a lot about on our pod, issues related to women and bodily autonomy. And this is something that is discussed very, very frequently in the Discord. We have, we have a handful of, female Patreon punks that, we talk about these issues. And one of the things that I'm committed to is anytime I'm faced with something in this area of an issue related to women and women's bodily autonomy, I feel like I need to actively speak up. So, because today I went to the urologist because I am planning and I scheduled my vasectomy, and it was already easy enough for me to schedule it. All I did was talk to my doctor and he referred me, and then I called and I scheduled this consultation. And in talking to any number of women about issues related to choices about their reproductive health, and not even talking about abortion, but just whether or not if they want to make a more permanent choice for their reproductive health. But for me, like, I scheduled this consultation, and within 5 minutes of the doctor coming in to talk about this, he gave me the spiel. We just chatted about a couple things, and then he was out, and then I was back at the front desk scheduling the day to go in, which is next month. And there was no like, well, are you sure you don't want to have kids? Or what if you change your mind? Or maybe you haven't met the right person? Or,
here's a picture of a kid you might have. Or
yeah, like there so many of these stories that I've heard, and like there was none of that. and it took no time. There was no questioning my motives. And it just, and I just feel like there's so much. I mean, obviously there's also significant racism within healthcare.
Right.
There's and you combine that too with the sexism that exists within healthcare. It's just like it's so easy to just like be a dude and just get your, and they don't question your motives. They don't question whether or not you're in pain. There's more of a push now to allow to get especially young women to have their period cramps be a legitimate reason for missing school, or even like older women missing days of work because because women's pain is just dismissed in so many ways. And I just, so at the same time that I was like grateful that I'm not having to jump through hoops, I left the office still feeling annoyed.
Right.
And like, cause I'm like, this is so shitty. Like it should be this easy for everybody to just be able to make their own choice about their bodies and whether or not they want to have kids. So that's all I'll say on that. I just felt like I wanted to, since it was so fresh today, I wanted to share that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you did. Thank you for doing it. Now I feel a little bad about calling them your Scandinavian swimmers, but that's okay. It allowed you an on-ramp to return to the story.
They will not be swimming much longer.
No, Scandinavian.
They'll be sleeping with the fishes of, I don't know. I don't know.
Yes.
Anyway,
appreciate you sharing that.
Yes.
And there's no artful way for me to
definitely not
turn from that serious discussion. So I'll just say, instead of having a serious discussion, would you like to play a game?
Ooh, yes, Daddy.
Oh, yes, Daddy. Thanks, Caillou. I am going to share my screen. All right, Andrew. This week, I got a game for you called Real Monsters? ? How well do you know local monster legends?
Oh, shit.
This might be a tough one, but I wanted to touch on local monster legends because they're so much fun. Also, I came through with that Halloween soundboard.
Yes.
This is a little bit better than last time. So if you get something wrong.
Okay.
You get something right. So I'll do my best at those noises. All right. Now, starting with an area we know well, Lake Pepin on the border of Minnesota and Wisconsin is the largest lake on the Mississippi River. It's also allegedly home to which lake monster? A, Minnie, B, Missy, C, the Lake Ness Monster, or D, Peppy?
Oh, man. I should pay more attention when I visited Lake Monster Brewing.
Ooh, yeah.
Because I don't know if that's where they get the name from.
Might be.
Lake Monster, a delicious brewery in the Twin Cities. I am not familiar. You're asking how well I know this, and I do not at all. This is a blind guess.
Okay.
Let's see. So there is a variation on, the Nessie sort of sound.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the Loch Ness Monster. So the Lake Ness Monster is very clever. I gotta go. I'm gonna go. So are they naming it? Are they naming the monster after the lake, or are they naming it after the state or the river. There's just so many things. So okay, if they're naming it after the Loch Ness Monster, I'm gonna go with Peppy. D, final answer.
You're going Lake Pepin is home to the monster Peppy.
Yep. Yes.
You are correct.
Hell yeah.
Peppy. Sightings of Peppy date back to prehistoric mound builder era. You can find, yes, long ago, legends of seeing a lake monster back when the people who would build those mounds, which you can still see throughout the Twin Cities, were doing their thing. However, in more recent years, Minnesotan businessman Larry Nielsen offered a $50,000 reward to anyone who could produce proof of his existence. That was revealed to be more of a, effort to get some tourism to the area, and nobody has since produced any proof. But hey, there's still time. All right, moving on from Peppy to the Mothman. The legendary Mothman creature has been seen around the country and the world, but is most famously tied to which location? Is it A, Thunder Bay, Ontario, B, Carbondale, Illinois, C, Point Pleasant, West Virginia, or D, Deming, New Mexico?
So I'm trying to remember which actress I saw give an interview talking about the Mothman. And I am almost 100% confident that this is Point Pleasant, West Virginia, and they have big old festivals every year. This actress might have been from there, so I'm gonna have to see if I can look that up later, remember who it was, but I'm going to say C, Point Pleasant, West Virginia.
All right, Mothman in Point Pleasant. What do we hear?
Yes.
You're correct. 2 for 2.
Yes.
I want to know who that actress is too, because I'm kind of obsessed with Mothman. I have long wanted to visit the Mothman Museum in Point Pleasant and go to the Mothman Festival they have out there.
Yes.
I had been obsessed, and then he started showing up in Chicago a few years ago. There were some Mothman sightings. Never saw the guy. But yes, in late 1966, many residents of Point Pleasant began reporting sightings of a large gray creature with 10-foot wings whose eyes glowed red. Following the December 15th, 1967 collapse of the Silver Bridge and the death of 46 people it caused, the incident gave rise to the legend and connected the Mothman sightings to the bridge collapse. There's kind of this idea that perhaps the Mothman shows up at places where there are tragedies and sort of not necessarily, maybe tries to warn people, but more is just like a sign that something's going to happen there.
Yep, I found out who it was.
It
was Jennifer Garner, because she's from West Virginia.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I like Jennifer Garner.
Yeah,
and I like the Mothman, so get her on the pod.
Yep.
All right, number 3. You're doing well. The Jersey Devil has been said to inhabit the Pine Barrens of South Jersey for nearly 300 years and is said to have the features of several different animals.
Ooh.
Which animal isn't one of them? Is it A, a bat, B, a goat, C, a snake, or D, a kangaroo?
Okay. You know, this is feels a little tricky because we're talking about Jersey, and then you're throwing kangaroo in there. Not kangaroos, not native.
No.
To Jersey.
Sure.
Which I'm assuming is, if we're talking South Jersey, are we talking New Jersey?
Yes.
Okay, because I don't know if there's a part of Australia called
no, sorry. This is
South Jersey. I can't even do it. The worst Australian, the worst Australian accent in the game. terrible. And I guarantee Mickey is going to give me shit for that. Awful.
Oh, did Crocky, did one of our roos make its way to the Pine Barrens all the way to New Jersey? That fucking sucks.
Yeah,
that R is hard. Jersey, New Jersey.
Yeah, Jersey.
This sucks.
Yeah, it's tough. Okay, so this could be one of those questions where it's like, oh, the Jersey Devil inhabited the kangaroo at the zoo, and that's why it's in there.
You may be overthinking it.
Okay, well then I'm gonna say kangaroo D, because it's the least spooky of the animals.
Kangaroo, huh?
You asshole!
I may have thrown you off there by saying
you threw me off.
Wasn't trying to say, it's not kangaroo. That's too crazy. I was just saying, like, I didn't give any thought to the fact that it does apparently have the body of a kangaroo. I wasn't like, how did it get there? I think it just looks similar to one. But yes, the Jersey Devil features supposedly the wings of a bat, the head and hooves of a goat, the body of a kangaroo, and a forked tail. So probably it's more just like that body looks like a kangaroo body. But take it up with the people of Australia. I don't know, or New Jersey, I guess.
Oh, you know what? I think I misunderstood the question.
But you're looking at the words.
Yeah, I think I was thinking of that it inhabited, it would inhabit.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Creatures. No. You know what? That's fine. It was my misinterpretation of the question. So
you want a half point? I'll give you a half point.
Nope. We do not do half points on Magpie.
Yeah, it's an animal that looks like a bunch of different animals, so I could have worded it badly. It also has a forked tail. So I was trying to throw you off a little there with the snake. Anyway, Jersey Devil, hope you're doing well. All right. The Pope Lick Monster is reported to live beneath a railroad trestle bridge over Pope Lick Creek in Louisville, Kentucky. Legend has it the monster is either a human-goat hybrid or a circus performer who spent its life in torment and now seeks revenge. Which of these is not one of the methods it employs to claim its victims? A. Singing a siren song. B. Attacking with a blood-stained axe. C. Hypnosis. Or D. Voice mimicry. The Pope Lick Monster uses 3 out of these 4.
Okay.
Allegedly.
Let's see. A human goat hybrid. Or a circus performer who spent its life in torment and seeks revenge. So I'm thinking with this sort of circus performer aesthetic that people might think it is. I mean, things like hypnosis or voice mimicry seem very circus act. And I don't know. Attacking with a blood-stained axe feels out of step with the Pope Lick Monster. I feel like if you're a monster, you're not so much one to wield weapons, and I feel like it's the one that stands out as fairly unique among all of these. So I'm going to say the Pope Lick Monster did not attack with a bloodstained axe.
Survey says.
Dang it.
Fortunately, that is supposedly one of the ways the Pope Lick Monster will get you. Now, perhaps there's 2 schools of thought on what the Pope Lick Monster's deal is. One is more maniacal and one is more of a slow burn, dry in sort of murder avenue. But yes, singing a siren song, not one of the things it does. But I did think that sounded similar to what it supposedly does, which is a terrifying idea. of hypnotizing people who are walking across the bridge, making them either fall to their deaths or come down to the monster and get eaten or whatever. Voice mimicry, the idea that they would be doing somebody else's voice and you'd go follow it and then you'd get Pope-like monstered. But yeah, apparently he's also out there with an axe sometimes, so who knows.
That is a terrifying monster with a stupid monster name.
Yes. Will and Joe from Common Creatives, let us know if you've ever mixed it up with the Pope-like monster down there in Louisville. All right.
If you ever licked a Pope.
You're 2 for 4, which is pretty good, at least compared to some of my recent performances. Closing it out with number 5, classic local monster legend, the Wendigo. A Wendigo is a supernatural being belonging to the traditions of Algonquin-speaking First Nations people in North America. Wendigos are usually described as humans who then turn into powerful monsters with superhuman abilities and who have a desire to kill and eat their victims. According to legend, which one of these is not one of the ways that people turn into Wendigos? A, being corrupted by greed. B, being weakened by extreme conditions such as hunger and cold. C, dancing too hard for too long. Or D, engaging in cannibalism.
Being corrupted by greed does sound like something that would be detested by First Nations peoples.
Mm-hmm.
So that to me feels true. Feels like it could be true. I mean, dancing too hard for too long. I mean, I don't know. Is this like a Footloose situation? Like,
yeah, at the end of that movie, they all turn into Wendigos.
Kevin Bacon is like, you know, that everybody's turning into monsters.
That would have been a cooler reason for them to not have dancing in that town.
Yeah, just like you're gonna turn into a monster, bro. Gotta listen to our dudes in the Algonquins.
That's right.
You know, I want to believe that dancing too hard and for too long is real. So I'm gonna say, engaging in cannibalism is not one of the ways you turn into a Wendigo.
All right. Thoughts? Answered? Results? Is that a phrase?
Damn it!
All right, man. Should have listened to your gut. I made up dancing too hard for too long.
Damn it!
Does sound cool though.
I wanted it to be so. I just wanted it to be right. I just wanted it to be true.
I like the idea that if you dance too much, you might turn into a monster, which does sound like something people might, warn youth about or something.
Yes, this is what I was thinking. That's like,
right.
Stay away from those dance halls.
Right. But yeah, apparently, look out. If you get too greedy, you're stuck out there in the cold, you start eating humans, you might just be a Wendigo.
If you climb a mountain and get caught up there in extreme cold and you have to eat one of your friends, you might be a Wendigo.
If you blasted a rocket into space while people were dying from COVID-19, you might be a Wendigo. Look out, Jeff Bezos.
You dance for too long and too hard. Okay.
That's the local monster game.
Yes, good game.
2 for 5, pretty good. That seems to be our record lately. We're doing 2 for 5s a lot.
Yeah.
Tricky questions. Anyway, I had fun researching local monsters.
No, I need to look. I'm gonna go do my own research. I'm going to go to Lake Monster.
All right, do it.
And do my research over some beers at Lake Monster.
It's the best kind of way to do some research.
It's the only way.
You know what else is spooky?
Mm.
This week's featured band.
That's true.
Grave Robber.
Mm.
Should we get into some of that?
I think we absolutely should before we flatline over here. When we come back, we will be talking 2011 album by Grave Robber, You're All Gonna Die.
Hey, I'm Joe, and I'm a composer and a musician.
That's why we call you the maestro. And I'm Will. I'm a literal doctor.
But don't trust this guy with your ailments.
No, I study comic books, but it still counts.
We're a couple of creative kids who host the podcast called Common Creatives.
We dig deep into filmmakers, musicians, books, and characters, really all types of artistic works and the people who make them.
We break apart the art we love to see what makes it tick.
Basically, we give you the definitive take on whatever or whoever we're discussing. All opinions are definitive and final.
So check out Common Creatives wherever you listen to podcasts.
And we're back talking Grave Robber, talking You're All Gonna Die.
It is time to discuss Grave Robber. That's how the dude sounds.
Magpie Nation.
He kind of sounds like Danny Stairs calling in.
Because not everything is as it seems.
I'm so into it, man. I was just telling you off mic, like we'd been waiting to share our takes with each other, but boy, I'm into these guys. Grave Robber formed in Fort Wayne, Indiana in 2005. And we should say 3 of the 4 bands we're covering this month are from Indiana, which is weird. It's funny after almost never covering the Midwest throughout this podcast until in this little month-long mini-series, Indiana, spooky place. It would be interesting to see like a sociological study on why Christian horror punk thrives in Indiana.
Did you ever watch that show Erie, Indiana?
Hey, yeah, there you go. Maybe something's going on in Indiana.
Maybe there's more than corn in Indiana. That's what they say.
As an immediate neighbor, I think of it as a capital P, boring place. I said that weird, but you know what I'm saying? So maybe they're so bored that they're coming up with cool stuff, or maybe there's more going on in Indiana than I know about. Anyway, I know the answer to when did you first hear of Grave Robber, because it's this season for both of us, right?
Yes.
I mean,
it was when we were coming up, when we came up with this concept of Magnifright Pod.
Right.
We were looking into these different bands, and it was then.
Yeah, both Blaster and Deadlines had been bands that people had suggested for a while. I'd never heard of Grave Robber until I had started doing my own research on Christian horror punk bands, and they came up a fair amount, and they're still active today. I mean, more recent than a lot of the bands that we've covered, after all not forming until 2005. But
music out as recent as 2019, it would seem.
Yeah, still definitely active. And am I gonna go see them the next time I can? 100%. They have had only 2 members that have stayed constant throughout their lineup changes: Sean Browning, aka Wretched, on vocals, and Craig White's, aka Carcass, on bass and background vocals. They all wear skull masks with wigs of long, stringy white hair and skeleton hands on stage. They look pretty cool. Wretched has a spooky voice he uses, as we alluded to. They have this theology and kind of stage mythos of referring to God as the reanimator, which I think is kind of cool. Like this is something we'll have to get into this episode, because we're sort of 3 for 3 of these horror bands that sort of use horror imagery and milieu as like a means to which to tell these like fairly evangelical stories, and I think they fit into that mold. But for some reason, the way that they do it doesn't offend me in some of the ways that we've talked about with the last 2 bands. Even if I think Blaster is more interesting and accomplished, I just think the sort of lane that Grave Robber is in is like, I don't know. And maybe it's too, Blaster is complex. They're doing a lot of things. There's lots to unpack. Maybe there's not quite as much to unpack here. And that's also why it doesn't really bother me as much. They're just sort of like spooky metal dudes using that as a way to talk about theology. And sometimes there's stuff that I sort of bump on, which we'll get into. But I'd say for the most part, like, I don't know. I think the Reanimator thing is cool. They talk about themselves as being like reanimated dead people, which, is kind of more in that. Each band has sort of talked about the dead to sin and alive in Christ idea.
Right. Yeah.
But I think for the most part, this stuff works for me in the context of this band. They signed to Retroactive Records for their first record, which was an Iowa-based label intended to reissue classic Christian metal, and then grew into a label that signed and released records by new artists, Living Sacrifice being one of them, Savior Machine, who we talked about, Shadow producer Jason being into one of the reissues. And then they released their first album, Be Afraid, on Retroactive in 2008. Inner Sanctum, their second album, on Retroactive in 2009. And then Sean, aka Wretched, founded the Christian metal and punk label Rottweiler Records in 2010, home to bands like Lust Control, who we've talked about on the pod in the past. They released the album Exhumed in 2010, which was like a comp of recorded older songs and demos. And You're All Gonna Die, which I talked about today, in 2011. And then Escaping the Grave in 2018, all on Rottweiler. They also released Dry Bones in 2019, which is an acoustic EP, in addition to bands covering their songs, doing the rest of the album. So, I don't know.
That's can we talk about the album cover?
Yes, we can.
For a bit. It is pretty gruesome.
Yeah.
For a Christian.
Definitely.
I mean, Grave Robber itself is an awesome band name.
He carries he drags a shovel onto the stage at the beginning of their shows, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, there was I think it was a 2008 Cornerstone. I think it was 2008 Cornerstone live video that you had shared with me. There's like, I don't know who it is in the band that's like going around in the audience, like in the skull mask, and there's like this guy that has like a kid on his shoulders, and like the guy comes up like and puts his hand like over the kid's head or whatever. And it definitely looks like the kid starts crying.
Yeah, that sounds right.
The kid looks pretty upset. But anyway, this cover art has a skull person, like it's sort of hard to. So it's like a human body with a skull head.
Yeah.
That is
bloody skull head.
A bloody skull. Well, everything's bloody, and they're like chained to something, but like the chain is like going through their abdomen, and like chains are like connected to their shoulders, and like their hands are bound. You know, it's like really gruesome.
Yeah.
And then like the CD itself is like splattered with blood and says you're all gonna die.
Yeah.
And like the back of the CD, it's like board, a wooded like board floor or something. There's like blood splattered all over it.
Yeah. You're All Gonna Die is carved in blood on the dude's chest and torso.
Yes. Yeah. So it's pretty aggressive. So
it's intense. If you saw this, you'd think it was Cannibal Corpse or whatever. Like it's very much in the, secular metal aesthetic.
Yes.
And might turn a lot of people off. And maybe that's kind of why I like them, is I feel like even though I like the sound of the Deadlines, we were kind of wondering like how much of this is sort of manipulative, how much did they like work backwards from, like were they a spooky band who just wanted to say we're Christian, or were they like let's use our ministry, as Jared was saying in his email, to like tell these spooky stories through. I don't know, to me Grave Robber just seems like these are dudes who are into like metal and into like metal imagery and horror punk and horror metal imagery, and are just like fans of that stuff and have used their work, the interests that they have in that world. It feels sort of more authentic to me.
Yes.
I don't know. So I mean, I think like the two other bands we've covered so far on Magnifright Pod, there's definite explicit Christian bent to the lyrics. They even talked about like communion being eating flesh and blood. And like I said, they talk about being reanimated corpses. God is the reanimator. There's very much like that creepy built-in sort of zombie imagery to what they're doing. But again, I don't know. It doesn't bother me as much here for the most part. Maybe it's a little less judgy to me than some of the last two when I bumped on some of the content there. Again, more just kind of playing in the dark world of like, spiritual warfare and some of these things that they're into. But there is stuff to discuss.
It's it's less I don't know, it's less specific things like sluts and whores and
Right.
you know, I mean, there is a little bit of that.
Yes, there is.
But you know, not as in your face as that. And I think mostly it's just like you're saying, it's their theology that is the driving thing here, and it doesn't get into the weeds as much as Blaster does.
Yeah,
shaping an entire album around a particular series and
right.
You know, and while I do think musically that Blaster record is a significant accomplishment more so than this, I do think that there is less on this record to be like you know, I'm not even if I'm like okay, whatever, like even if the theology itself is just like, all right, okay, I see what you're saying and I get it, you know, but
there's
I can still like I can still, you know, shred to some of these songs and ignore it, while at the same time, you know, it's like, is this song about werewolves being gay and how it's a bad thing? Like, you know, it's just like I have a even though that song rules, it's just I still, like you saying, you bump up against it and you're just like, what do I do?
Although I will say this album is 3 for 3 for using werewolves as a metaphor for sin, which like
I know.
I just
want
to get back
just
to
just stop it. Werewolves. Let's make werewolves great again.
Okay, there may be bumper stickers that say equal rights for werewolves, but we might have to make like blue, like full moon colored hats that say make werewolves great again. Yes, when we start our band, all the werewolf metaphors are going to be how about the other cool dudes. But yeah, I mean, the Blaster episode was 3 hours for a reason. There's so much to discuss and unpack. There's not as much to sort of parse here. It just sort of, you know, you're in the world and I'm into it. And I will say, just like, again, we're making comparisons to these bands that are like fairly different from each other, but again, just for a little series here, you know, if the Deadlines are maybe like doing a vibe that I'm into, but maybe not the most accomplished. If Blaster, I felt sort of overwhelmed by, that's kind of the word I use.
Yeah.
So many different styles, so much to unpack, but obviously like great. I mean, one of my favorite bands we've covered. Of the three, Grave Robber's kind of the most just in my lane. Like I don't have, there's no songs that I really dislike here. It's all just kind of like, I'm into this. And you know, it might not have the same impact as maybe some of the other stuff we've talked about, but for me, it's just like I got no problems with this world that they built here. So, You're All Gonna Die, released November 7th, 2011, on Rottweiler. The lineup here is Wretched and Carcass plus Plague on drums and background vocals, Lamentor on guitar and background vocals, and Grim on guitar and background vocals. Co-produced by Sean, aka Wretched, and produced and mastered by Tim Bushong, who also was an engineer on the band On Othello, one of their records. A friend of ours is in that band. Shout out Danny. He had also the producer.
Too many Dannys.
Too many Dannys. Tim Bushong had also been the bass player in the band, Mainline Riders. And I think it sounds great. I feel like this record packs a big punch sonically. Sounds really cool.
Can we just talk for a second? Because you're talking about who plays what, and so on the CD, they when they talk about like vocals, it says vocils, VOKILL.
Oh man, that's such a good little metal detail.
Yeah. But also, Wretched is the vocalist, but it says vocals, comma, shovel.
That rules. Oh,
and Plague, who is the drummer, it's called Doom Tubs.
Man, I want to play the shovel and some Doom Tubs.
They're just fully committing to all of it.
I love it. I love when a band is just like This is our thing, and we are not straying from it 1 ounce. We're never not going to be wearing these skull masks.
Yeah.
I like it. I really like this record. The sound is very much my speed. I like his vocals. There's so many whoa, whoa, whoa chants throughout, which is just
so many.
a lane I'm always here for. It works for me. It's one of those things for me that's just like, oh, I've heard this a bunch on this album, but every time it sounds so nice. So should we get into this album?
We absolutely should. With the opening track that is very atmospheric, Flatliners.
Yes. Not a song, but some nice vibes for you.
It just puts you in the mood.
Yeah. Ready to play those haunted tubs. What was it called?
Doom tubs.
Doom tubs. Hashtag Doom tubs.
Hashtag get your shovel.
I aspire to be in a band where it can be something, comma, shovel one day.
Dude, our own horror punk band.
I'm gonna just
what's our band name again?
The Unbelieving Vegans.
Unbelieving Vegans.
That's the leader so far. Yeah, I guess I could steal the shovel bit from these guys. All right, so we're flatlining. We're dead, Andrew. We're dead to sin.
All right.
Now, will we be reborn? Let's find out.
I mean, you might be reborn, John, but first, you're all gonna die.
My number 3.
This is also my number 3.
Okay, cool. Man, I love that drum opening, just like leading into it immediately, just like sets the energy so high immediately.
The guitar tone also
sounds great.
It sounds really cool. His switching from his different vocal styles to like,
I love it.
No big mobile.
Yeah, it rules. This is great because he does a very Danzig-y Misfits vocal style. It's kind of that croony belting voice, which I love. But I also am very here for the fact that he switches into this creepy voice
like
occasionally.
It's very black metal. He goes from Misfits to black metal.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, and you're just like, what is this?
I like it, whatever it is. I think the guitar part is cool throughout. We should say the music by Lamentor on this one. Most of the songs, music and lyrics by Wretched, but Lamentor coming in here with that guitar sound. Just the drums, the red and that cymbal the whole time. I just think the song's great. Also very into the bridge. Could we hear some of 141, some creepy organs and toms? Yeah. Into that.
Yeah.
I love
this.
This
is
sound.
the more effective use of organ on both this record and the Blaster record.
Yeah. I love that all 3 have featured organ though, as you must if you're a horror punk band. I just love that mode. I think it sounds so great.
Lyrically, this is a hell song without saying it's a hell song. This is basically saying, it's not over when you die. You might think it's over, but you're not. You're not going to Valhalla. You're not going to some other. You're not going to be eaten by the worms.
Right.
You are. So it doesn't say it though.
Right.
It doesn't say it.
Yeah.
But it's there. That's basically it says, no empty corpse, no last breath. You just don't cease in death. So there's something being like there's something after this.
Right.
But it doesn't go all the way. The train doesn't go all the way to Bummerville for me.
Yes.
So
I think
it stops just short of it.
Bummerville, straight ahead.
Nope,
but
this
hang
is the
on,
stop.
we're not getting out there. Yeah, I think you nailed it. I mean, similar to other bands that we've covered, in that it initially sounds like one thing on the surface, and is kind of revealed to be another thing or have a deeper layer. But I also like that it just kind of is what it is. It's more straightforward. We're all gonna die.
Yes.
That sounds like a metal threatening album, and it's also a fact that's presented here, but it's sort of framed as this positive thing in the sense that for them, they have the belief that that's not the end of things.
Right.
And if you're looking at it as a sort of positive, the idea that you're all going to die is sort of this like anthemic thing that we can shout along to together is kind of a cool thing. So I don't know, it sounds metally and creepy and evil, and then there's something under it, but as you're saying, it's not. Maybe it's just because we're used to a lot of sort of evangelical bands, but it would be easy for them to be like, and the sinners will go to hell, and everybody who's turned away from God. They don't need to do that. They just kind of leave it like how we said they frame things. So
yeah.
Anyway,
yeah, the at the end where there's just like lots of repetition of you're all gonna die, die,
yes,
die,
love it,
die.
I love it. Into it. There's a lot of repetition on this record, and I don't mind it.
Yes. Paranormal Activity.
Come closer, please. I've something to tell you.
Darkness falls on the city in broad daylight, hidden in the shadows, waiting to strike. Principalities and powers are working all around us. Unseen things are lurking. Prepare for the war of ages as the battle for humankind rages. When the hour comes, we will all see paranormal activity. Paranormal activity.
So fun.
This is like a spiritual warfare. You sort of mentioned at the top of this segment. This is that's kind of one of their things. And this is again, it's so easy if you aren't paying attention to the lyrics.
Right. Yeah.
If you just picked up the album and on just based on the album title and the names of the songs, and you weren't paying attention, you wouldn't really know any different.
Right.
But yeah, this idea that like powers and principalities are working in the shadows to try and into some sort of nefarious thing to pull you into hell, essentially.
Right.
And that's the paranormal part. It's the these demons that are trying to get you.
Yeah. There's a lot of talk about ghosts and hauntings and paranormal activity, and maybe that's all just the Holy Spirit and demons and stuff like that. But I don't know. Again, it just kind of like metal lyrics and imagery, living in that world, but not in a way that bums me out. So I don't mind a sort of spooky framing of theological songs. If you want to call, if you want to call this paranormal activity, I think that's kind of cool. I should say the opening. Oh my gosh, those whoa-ohs. I love them. Opening clip there is Boris Karloff in the movie Black Sabbath, which is great. Some good little horror clips throughout. But yeah, the song just goes hard. It keeps the energy high. Love the sort of the pace throughout. There's a cool sort of slowed down bridge, and then it goes right back up into high energy. I don't know, super fun one.
Yeah, these are not the last woes that we're gonna hear on this record.
No.
And yeah, it's one of the things that about this band that I think would be fun live.
Yes.
Seeing people who would be really into them.
Yeah.
It only works if everybody else is into it. If you're in a show and those gang vocals are not, and no one cares in the audience, then that just sort of makes me sad.
I know.
But like, I would love to be at a show where everybody would be super into it.
Yeah, I read an interview with Wretched where he was saying like, no matter if it's like a big festival we're playing or like a tiny dive bar in the Midwest, which is often the case, like they try to give it the same level of energy and theatricality. And some of the videos I saw did appear to be some pretty small bars in Indiana and neighboring states. And I'm like, I don't care, man. I'm going to go next time I can. And just, if I'm the only guy going, whoa, in the pit, I'm going to do it. I can't wait.
Dude.
Bring in my own shovel.
Yeah. It's like, hey, Wretched, I'm John. Can you sign my shovel?
You'd be like, absolutely. The shovel is not exactly what it seems. That's a good Wretched. You might have to do that in our band.
My pretties. He doesn't say my pretties, but
no, but yeah.
Anyway,
that's the idea.
Invisible Man.
My children. Do I seem like an animal to you?
Bass.
While you're safe and warm, I shiver the whole night through. I live in a cardboard box, a brick for a pillow on a bed of rocks. Do I even appear to be a human being to you? Turn your head as you pass by. You cannot recognize the pain I cannot hide. I watch you walk away as darkness falls when I see the light of day. Or will death carry me away? You look right through me. I'm the invisible man. You don't cry for me. I'm the invisible man. I am the least of these. I'm the invisible man, created fearfully. I'm the invisible man.
Yeah,
This is such an interesting song to me.
it is.
It's not too often, that like I did not expect a song lamenting poverty
No.
on this record,
No.
and very humanizing in a humanizing
Yes.
way. Be like, I'm like the line. It's like I'm, it's been essentially saying the invisible man is the person, the homeless person, and that they're not being acknowledged, that no one's even looking at them, but at the same time they are fearfully made. They're also made by God, and so it's sort of giving them some of that humanity.
Yeah,
So,
it has an actual Christian message, which
Yes.
we don't often hear from some of these Christian bands we cover
Right.
on the pod. It's actually surprising how infrequently this kind of song is one that we've heard, because
Right.
I mean, yeah, he's singing about the least of these. It's a
an actual song about justice and
Yeah.
like, injustice. you know?
very very rooted in gospel concept. And yeah, I mean, as you said, talking about the person being created fearfully, it's just not not something you necessarily expect, especially from these kind of bands we've been hearing in this stretch. But I'm incredibly here for it. This is like okay, you can talk a lot about being dead to sin or whatever, but like what does your life look like differently now that you are alive in Christ. Well, perhaps it looks like treating people who are marginalized in a different way and recognizing God in other people. So I just think the song is super cool. I like the sound of it. I like the message of it.
And it still uses a spooky concept like the Invisible Man.
Right. Yeah. Here for it.
To incorporate their theology into this this song. And I also like that he uses the term least of these.
Yeah.
That's something that Jesus says, whatever you did for the least of these, you did for me. This whole idea of like, Jesus, when did we see you hungry or imprisoned or, and it's like a very pivotal part of the Gospels.
Yes, absolutely.
Arguably like some of the most important of Jesus's teachings.
And yet we hear a lot more songs about lust than we do about that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I just, this idea of using monsters and monster movies to talk about theology and justice issues, so it's getting me all revved up. The bridge also really cool. At about 2:30 goes into a major key, some organ comes in. Can we hear some of that?
Hell yeah.
Nice little solo there. I just think that shift into like all of a sudden we're like ascending into these major chords is a really cool little lift in the song there.
Yes.
Good one.
Into it. Now into a little bit of a bummer. Something wicked this way comes.
Supernatural, perhaps. Baloney, perhaps not. There are many things under the sun.
Two black eyes, a hopeless man senses his and cries. We've seen it all before. A junkie takes another hit. Drug dealers, pain doesn't care a bit. It's a good night, hookers on sex tricks. We've seen it all before. Something wicked this way comes. Nothing new under the sun. Nothing new under the sun. Something wicked this way comes.
It's got like a little bit of a Motley Crue thing going on.
It does. They have a few songs that are more in the sort of hard rock lane, which are not my favorite mode for
which
them.
is why I was like, part of me is like, is John gonna dig this album? Because it does have a little bit of that.
It does.
Sunset Strip kind of.
Ooh, yeah. Not my favorite mode. But I feel like those are more the exception than the rule on this album. I mean, it's, so he's talking about nothing new under the sun. The point sort of being that there's nothing we can do that would separate us from God or the love of God, which I think is a fine point. And some examples he gives, sure. He's talking about corrupt cops and politicians. Others feel a little more exploitative and bummery.
A little punching down.
Yeah, when he gets to hookers turning 6 tricks, I mean, that's rough. What about instead of, calling out the sinful behavior, we call out the sinful behavior of a society that mistreats sex workers? Like that's something I can get more on board with. It just starts to feel that sort of like,
how about if you want to talk about maybe pimps who are exploiting their sex workers versus
pinning it on these hookers.
Hooker too is just a term like
it's a bummer.
It's a bummer.
But it's just that sort of like poverty porn thing, we're just like reveling in the like these bummer stories. And I get that the point is like, he's seen all this stuff. There's all kinds of bad stuff, but no matter what, that doesn't separate us from God, which I agree with. But I think it's kind of feels icky, sort of like wallowing in these like, what's the worst shit I can think of. But musically, I think it's kind of fun. The opening clip there is from Bela Lugosi and the Black Cat, another good movie. There's a cool kind of metal-y guitar bridge, like that part. Yeah, not one of my favorites.
No, this is also not one of my favorites. So, yeah, it's just I don't jive with the overall tone or the lyrics. They just sort of like,
yeah.
I get what you're trying to say, but the examples that you're coming up with, not,
right.
Like I said, like I was saying, punching down. Why you got to go with? there are, like you said, corrupt cops, politicians. Right. There's so many other things.
Talk about billionaires.
Talk about literally anything else other than like what's being talked about is like the victims and not the abuser.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Which I guess is. Maybe that's what he's trying to say. I don't know. Sometimes, like the first verse is sort of victims, the second verse is more the abusers, I suppose. But I don't know. That is a strain of some metal. I feel like where it's just like, oh, we're gonna think of some twisted shit that happened to some people, and it's just like, I don't know. Yeah. Get back to the werewolves.
Let's get back to Nightbreed.
Return to vomit, like lambs led to the slaughter, like villagers with torches come to burn down the tower. They bring their castigation, instigate extermination of all kind, the alien children of spirit, light, and power. They harness harboring lies deep from the pit of hell, but our weapons of warfare demolish and dispel. We face the onslaught and creeping we proceed. We are freaks and they call us Nightbreed. We are freaks and they call us Nightbreed.
This is my number 2.
Okay, cool. Tell me more.
Well, it's hard to find. It's whenever you do albums that have very heavy Christian messages, it's hard to pick one that there's not something on there I kind of disagree with. Sure. This to me, it comes across as a we're the freaks and we're weird, right, and they're gonna like kind of go after us, and they're gonna try and take us down and whatever, but we're gonna keep moving forward, I guess, as Nightbreed, whatever. But it's hard to deny the whoa,
yeah,
whoa.
Yeah, it rules.
And I love the chorus too.
Yeah, it's fun. Those drum fills in the opening too get me hyped. Yeah, what you're saying about the lyrics is sort of what I suspected it could be and wasn't totally sure about, but I think now that you're confirming it, I'm like, yeah, that probably is what it is. But I mean, again, it's kind of another one about spiritual warfare. There's the movie Nightbreed is about monsters that hide from society in an underground city. And in this one, the Nightbreed are the ones fighting the dark forces. So I guess,
right.
There's an argument to be made for them being the freaks in terms of being like out of step with a sinful society, sort of.
Right.
Which is, I don't know.
Yeah. Our safety in numbers awaiting the final hour. I don't know. But
I like being called Nightbreed. I think that's cool.
I think that's cool too. I like being a freak and
yeah.
And what is it? What do they say that they're we are the night breed so far away from home. We are the night breed across the earth we roam. I like that.
That sounds pretty cool. Yeah, I like that. I'm into that. And again, like, could be just about somebody might be like Nightbreed. I know that movie is about monsters, and this song's about monsters living underground. It's like, all right, cool. So it's like you could just take it that way if you wanted to. I don't know. It's fun.
Yeah. You know what else is fun?
Oh yeah.
Don't try to escape your cat. Are you ready, dear?
Number one, of course.
Number one.
Of course, it's the number one.
Man, the song rules.
This song, and from everything I can tell, like, like, it's about like going to a haunted house. Like, I don't know. He says, "I believe in ghosts." Like. More than like anything. I don't know if like the haunted house is church and
I
Jesus
think it might
is the
be
ghost.
I think so.
I don't know, but like,
but also I believe in ghosts, so take me to a haunted house. I mean, he says that 1,000 times, and I love it. I want like a jacket that's embroidered with "I believe in ghosts, so take me to a haunted house." I think it fucking rules. Yeah, it's like, I think, he says like, for a reanimated corpse like me, he's kind of bringing that imagery back in. Take me where the spirit freely roams. Again, I don't mind. He's talking about, if he wants to talk about God as like spirits roaming around, I don't mind. It works on that surface level, purely just about I believe in ghosts, take me to a haunted house, but also as a spooky framing of sort of embracing supernatural elements of faith. And I sort of take it as like, everybody raise your fists and raise your voice, sing "Whoa." I was sort of like worshiping together, I think is the idea. But this is my kind of worship. I'm into it.
If I went to a church and they were playing this song, I'd be like, sign me up.
Oh man, that rules. They're just like, whoa. Hell yeah.
It's like the pastor gets up on stage and it's like, how many of you believe in ghosts? Say whoa. We are in a haunted house tonight. Everybody raise your hands.
I would have so much an easier time with like praise and worship music of like raising your hands in the air if it was like a raise your fist, like whoa. I mean, it's irresistible. I feel like that sort of the descending vocal melody with the ascending instrumental melody, it's just a combination that cannot be beat. It's like just hits a pleasure center.
Not even with a shovel, it cannot be beat.
No. It's all pleasure center here for me. It's the chorus is super catchy. I think his voice sounds great. The great harmonies and the shout along whoa-who's, of course. It's just it's working, firing on all cylinders for me here.
Yeah, it to like the so everybody raise your hands, whoa, like already that you're like, my like dopamine is just being released all over my brain during that part. But then it goes from that to, because I believe in ghosts, so take me to a haunted house.
It's so great.
And the rest of my brain is lighting up.
Oh man, I love this song.
It's so fun. This is one of those songs where you're like, everybody in this fucking pit better be putting their
man.
arms around each other and
Yes.
singing woes.
Ugh, sounds so great. Just rocking out to some skeletons, sweating up on stage.
Just like I jump on stage, grab Wretched's
Ugh.
shovel and start
Hell
playing
yeah.
his shovel.
It sounds like a great time.
All right, now for something completely different.
Yes.
Incredible Shrinking Woman.
Now, listen closely, my friends. Things are not always as they seem. This next song does not condone domestic violence. It's a pretty little lullaby that should make you sick to your stomach.
All right.
This goes on for a while.
It
by
goes
the way.
on for way too
Another
long.
minute. Yeah.
This could have gone in the liner notes of, they could have pulled the lines or something.
We'll get there.
But
let's hear some of the actual songs.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to think when does the song actually?
I think he goes on for another minute, so maybe minute 30 something. Yes. I think this rules.
Yeah, this is another song that, when combined with Invisible Man, I'm like,
yes,
they're taking on some pretty serious issues. Not just in this sort of lazy way, but they in the actual CD and in the booklet, they have this line that's that talks about if you're it says, if you or someone you know is a victim of domestic violence, we urge you to contact the National Domestic Violence Hotline, and they give resources.
Mm-hmm.
So this is not just let's think of some fucked up shit we can talk about. They're trying to advocate for an issue that they care about, and I think that's awesome.
Absolutely. And I think you named what works for me in comparison to Something Wicked This Way Comes. Is this doesn't feel exploitative. This feels like an intentional positioning around a heavy topic and doing it in a way that respects the subject. And yeah, I mean, the song is told from the perspective of the abuser. So I think its point is pretty clear on its own. And the first time I listened through, when he's saying this song is not about domestic or does not condone domestic violence, I'm like, I'm getting a little nervous. If you have to do a little clarifying thing that says this isn't condoning domestic violence, I'm like, what am I going to hear? But I think I'm glad they added the intro, because I think it makes it more intentionally focused. And it's we're not just sort of casually throwing this out there. He says, it is our desire that you would be empowered to leave your violent situation. I like the idea of using empowerment language and using it to be this is important enough to sort of use my spooky voice to talk about giving an intro to this. And then the song is a great hardcore song, and the drums are going nuts, and it sounds great.
Yeah.
I
don't know if it needed to be a
Quite
minute and a half.
Yeah, it's pretty long.
I mean, I feel like it could have been a little bit more concise, because it's hard to listen to that. When you're
yes,
I want to get to the song. I'm fully on board with the message in every conceivable way. and I love the empowerment. I love that there's no blaming language.
Right. Yeah.
Like, it's like, why don't you just leave already? It's like there are lots of reasons that people stay in abusive situations, and it's super complicated. And so giving the resources is smart, rather than like saying like, just do it already, leave the asshole or whatever, something dismissive, because it is complex. And so so being like, I hope, like having this hope that people can be removed at some point, I think that's great, and I think it's respectful, and I think it's good language.
Yeah, totally. I also, I mean,
it just comes, it I don't know. I'm of two minds about it, because it's like,
it's jarring.
It's jarring because it's like, it's like, this is very serious, but he's using this very spooky black metal voice to talk about it. So I'm like, this isn't a joke though, but it sounds like a joke.
Right. I thought in my head, like, they clearly thought it was important enough to like include something on the actual record to give it some context. And I'm like, I wonder if they went through, should we just say something? No, if we say something, we should do it in the regular voice. But if we just do that, we should probably make it seem like it's during a live show, because otherwise just having him talk is weird. So I kind of like that it's like, sounds like sort of a live album there for a second. I also like, to your point, the idea of taking these classic monster movie titles, Invisible Man, Incredible Shrinking Woman, and applying it to marginalized people. How does a woman feeling like she's having to shrink down because of an abusive partner, I think is like a powerful idea. So I like that.
One of the many powerful things about what they were trying to accomplish, just that image of a woman trying to, I mean, like it could almost even, because like the Invisible Man and Incredible Shrinking Woman, it's like the same thing. Like, trying to, one is like not being noticed, and the other one like doesn't want to be noticed.
Right.
Or is becoming so small because. But anyway, good on you, grave robber.
Yes.
Last Man on Earth.
If I were the last man on earth, I would still love you. If I wait to find I'm left behind, I would see it through. When all hell breaks loose, I will die a martyr's death. My head will roll as I reject the mark of the beast and join the eternal undead. If I were the last man on earth, I would still love you. If I wait to find I'm left behind, I would see it through.
Whoa. This is my number 2.
Wow.
Is this your biggest bummer?
It's this song is up there with Something Wicked This Way Comes for me. It's just like, I don't need a Rapture song.
I understand. Let me counter that with whoa. Just that whoa melody hits off all those the pleasure synapses in my brain, just like Haunted House did. I just cannot. I find this sound irresistible.
But John, will you reject the mark of the beast?
So here are the most bummer lyrics. I will die a martyr's death. My head will roll as I reject the mark of the beast. It's just like, all right. This is
Let my
like,
blood run deep, and I'll still look them in the eye. It's like, all right, guys.
This is straight up Left Behind stuff, spiritual warfare stuff.
It's also this sort of like, if there were like a version of like right-winger Christian pornography, of like this idea of like some people like there's like a particular kind of guy that wants to be, that imagines himself like an action hero.
Yeah.
And they like craft this idyllic version of like where
Right.
they're, I mean, it's all these gun people that are like,
Right,
well,
right.
if I were there, I would have pulled out my gun and I would have done this. And it's like,
Right.
yeah, super cool that you can create a story around a situation that is most likely never going to happen to you. And this is never going to happen. The story of like being the
What?
last man on earth, like denying the mark of the beast and like fighting and like their head, it's like you're crafting a story that like makes you sound like a badass in a situation that will literally never happen. And it's
Mhm.
like, I don't know, it's like,
We'll see, Andrew. We'll see what happens. I don't know. I mean, there is an obsession in certain evangelical circles with martyrdom and persecution, and
yeah,
this is certainly in line with like, oh, I'm imagining what they're gonna do to me, and
yeah,
I'm into it. But like, again, it doesn't really bother me because it works as a surface level romantic song.
because
If I were the last man on earth,
whoa, that
well, also that, but it's just like, that's just a romantic sort of 50s style song about like, if I were the last man on earth, I wouldn't stop loving you. Like, that's just that can be just what it is. Now the
until
you
you
is
get
about
to the part about tearing away my
the mark of the
flesh.
beast. I know, but like, yeah, and the you that he's loving is God, and it's in the end times. But
Yeah.
to me, this feels fun. It doesn't feel judgy in a way that I think bums me out. Now, the mark of the beast and all that stuff, fine, that bums me out. But again, it's sort of like, for me, they're sort of playing in their dark spiritual warfare world, and it's not about how all the horrors will be sent to Babylon or whatever. It's like, he's imagining himself in this, apocalyptic scenario. I guess I don't mind it. I understand your reservations, but may I also play as a counterpoint a cool solo for you?
Yes, absolutely.
Can we hear 201, some of
Yeah.
that guitar solo? Yeah.
It almost has
It's,
like a social distortion.
Absolutely social D. I was even going to say it's a little Polaris-y.
Oh, interesting. I was
I
thinking
just
with
love
like
that sound.
all that reverb on that and on that
Yes.
clean guitar, it just sounded like a little Mike Ness action.
Absolutely does. And then it drops out into just toms and whoa, and then the bass comes in. Yeah. Give me that bass. I love it.
It's great.
I love it. I cannot deny it. It must be in my top 3. Mark of the Beast be damned.
Fair enough. I don't know. I would like to hear that one live, but I still gotta rep my Nightbreed, bro.
Sure.
Fill this place with blood. Also known as Iron Man.
Yeah.
I can't believe that this song was released so obviously with the Black Sabbath Iron Man riff. It's
pretty close.
Pretty close.
Well,
I mean, dun, 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 dun.
Yeah.
It's almost note for note.
Yeah, I don't know. It moves into different territory, but
Yeah.
I hear you. I don't know. I think this is
he
fun.
alive or dead? I don't know. I don't
understand.
know.
I think Black Sabbath hangs heavily over these guys. I don't know. I like it. It's not my fave. You know, as to your point, it's more of the hard rocky mode. There's some metally guitar solos.
Yes, there is for sure.
This is one that's music by Lamentor and Wretched, so it kind of makes sense. These sort of like hard rocky virtuosic guitar songs are usually Lamentor, who's the guitar player. I think it's fun. Lyrically, not totally sure what to do with this one.
I think it's got to be Crucifixion.
Well,
it's got to be a crucifixion story
/ Passover. I mean, you're talking about the blood on the door and the carnage at nightfall, the lamb sacrifice. But you know, it's connecting Passover to, you know, he says blood atonement, which is, you know, connecting to the crucifixion, obviously.
Right.
It's kind of like that Blaster song that sort of reveled in the destruction of the planet as a Christian apocalypse. It feels a little like that to me here. I get some of that energy where it's like, you know, is he reveling in the idea of filling this place with the blood of enemies? I know it's about blood atonement, but is it like from the perspective of the Egyptians or wanting to destroy the Egyptians? Or is it just metal? You know what I mean? Like, just fill this place with blood of the sacrifice of Christ. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
Fill this place with blood.
Shrieks of terror in the night. A house with freshly dead.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's intense. I do think it sounds great though. So I don't know. It's one of those where I'm like, how offended should I be by this? I don't know. But
yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, you're right. As I don't know why I didn't see the very clear yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So yeah, strike down the firstborn.
Right.
Yeah. That should have been my first clue.
You fucked up?
Fucked up, bro. Fucked up. Curse of the Werewolf. Again, let us say
let us werewolves live.
Let the werewolves make werewolves great again. It's not a curse to be a werewolf. But the song's called Curse of the Werewolf.
I like this though. Aru.
John Powder.
Powder. That's what they're saying.
I was saying Boo Earns.
You see me, you know me, like a day I'm the boy next door. You won't pass, so carefree, unaware of what's in store. When night comes, the moon shines, exposing the beast within. You see me, you know me, capable of the worst of sins. Causing veins of your life's in danger here. Curse of the werewolf. I try hard to fight it. Darkness brings it.
I love that little breakdown right there.
Yeah, it's cool. I don't know. I like it. It again. This is sort of more in the metal hard rock lane, which isn't necessarily my preferred mode. Another one with music by Lamentor. Yeah, I mean, I like it well enough. And again, using werewolf as a metaphor for sin, fine.
Yeah.
But I and I understand that it's a good metaphor because werewolves go out at night. They can't control themselves. They usually do bad stuff, like kill people. I get it, but I want to reclaim werewolves as cool.
Yeah.
Werewolf Reclamation Project.
Yes, hell yes. That will be.
Is that our band name?
It should be Werewolf Reclamation Project. Hell yeah,
pretty good.
WRP, bro.
Yeah, we'll get jackets.
My tortured soul, my heart cries out. Step by step, slowly I turn day by day, longing for a transfusion renewal. The transfusion renewal. That's a bit clunky of a way to be like, I need a change of heart, I need to repent, or but yeah. I think we are very pro werewolf on this podcast.
I think it's only because what other circumstance would we listen to 3 bands in a row that use werewolves as a metaphor for sin? Like, it's not a normal thing to like get hung up on, but for us, it's like, enough with the werewolves as sin. I don't know. I still think it's cool. I like werewolves. I like songs about werewolves. If you're talking about theology through a werewolf lens, I'm good with it. So I don't know. It doesn't bother me too much, but it's not my favorite. But
yeah, I also want to talk quickly about this cover for their album Escaping the Grave, because they have evidently they have maybe a remixed version.
Yes, they do, and it is a bummer. We could hear some of it if we want, but
I mean, we might as well. But it's a cool looking cover.
It's all their covers are cool. The font of Grave Robber on that album. Here we go.
Nope.
Now if they played that as like their intro walk-up music or something, I get hyped. That's fun. But I don't need the bleeps and bloops there.
One of the first time John has ever said I don't need the bleeps and bloops.
I like my bleeps and bloops and my horror punk in separate categories. Okay. The font of Grave Robber on this Escaping the Grave cover is cool too. They also have, we should say, a Christmas collection called Have Yourself a Scary Little Christmas.
Might have to cover
or Scary Christmas to You.
Yeah. They're definitely have some songs on here.
Yeah.
We might need to look at. Grandma got half eaten by a zombie.
Pretty good. It's pretty fun.
Yeah.
If you're doing a scary Christmas album, I'm into you. So Grave Robber, super fun.
Yes.
We had things to sort of pontificate about, but like on the whole, I am way into this band. This will be a new band that I return to regularly. I will seek them out. Unfortunately, most of these Indiana bands we're talking about are like kind of far from Chicago, more towards the Ohio side. But I look forward to eventually joining the Undead Army with Grave Robber. Had a lot of fun going through this. Let us know what you think. I don't know. I don't think that they have as big a following as some of the bands we talked about, but maybe people are super into them and we don't know. So let us know what you think.
Yeah, please.
At Magnified Pod on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Subscribe to the pod if you haven't already and give us a rating or review. We will read your Apple Podcast review on the show. Email us at magnifiedpod@gmail.com.
You can leave us a voicemail at 872-762-4763, 872-7-MAG-POD.
You can pick up some merch, some of that limited edition Magnifright Pod merch at magnifiedpod.storyenvy.com. And we got to say, thanks to Danny Leary for some of these dope designs he's done that we put on the merch. And thanks to Unoriginal Vinyl both Shadow Producer Jason and their designer Bruno for whipping up a new design, which we will be putting in merch on the shop very soon. That rules. Bruno is at paper_scuffs on Instagram to check him out and support him. These designs that we're getting for this little mini series and putting on the merch is making my heart so happy. They're so cool. So everybody support Danny Leary, support Unoriginal Vinyl, support Bruno.
Yes.
Thanks to those friends. Well, boils and ghouls, our time in the pine box is over for this week. We'll be back out of the grave next week when we'll discuss Harley Poe's Into the Dark.
Everybody raise your hands. Sing whoa, whoa. Everybody raise your voice. Sing whoa, whoa. 'Cause I believe in ghosts.
Oh, yeah.
I believe in ghosts.
That's right.
I believe in ghosts. So take me to a haunted house. I believe in ghosts. I believe in ghosts. I believe in ghosts. So take me to a haunted house.
I'm
I
gonna
believe
go
in
to,
ghosts.
I want to go to a haunted house
Hey.
right now.
Take me to one.
I will, bro. Let's go. I wanted to get at least 3.
Yeah, I was worried it
I
was
was not listening
too
to my
hard.
I was not listening to my gut. I should have listened to my gut more.
That's what I always learn. You got to go with it.
Yeah. Shit. I was overthinking everything too much.
Yeah. Sorry, I threw you with the kangaroo.
If you are you have the
Hello?
body of a kangaroo.
You might be a Jersey monster. I would love it if Jeff Foxworthy pivoted and did it all like Wendigo set.
All just like 45 minutes of Wendigo based comedy.
Hey, maybe it would play with like First Nations audiences.
Yeah, but only like Algonquin speaking. The most
Yeah.
niche comedy.
They're like, this is fucking gold.
If you loved You Might Be a Redneck jokes and you're a First Nations Algonquin speaking person who
Yep.
believes in Wendigos, you're gonna love this.
If we
bit.
got a special for you.
If you have, all right, I
Oh man.
God, no one has done a Jeff Foxworthy impression in like 25 years.
For more shows like this one, visit rockcandyrecordings.com.